So this is today's project. It's a salt box. It's made of maple, and this has been laying in my garage, probably about 8 or 10 years. It's got a nice foot, top, and most people use them for storing salt, so I usually call it a salt box. The lid does not snap on tight. It's made to be easily lifted and replaced. So let's get started, and we'll make this from a log. I'm ready to mount my blank into my spigot jaws. So these spigot jaws go down almost about an inch, and I've got, all I need is about 3/8 to about half an inch is plenty. I want to make sure that the blank seats firmly against the edges of the jaws, and then we tighten it down really good. So I need to mark off how thick the top is going to be, and then this will be the base of my salt box. And I want about 1.25 inches. Let's see, this would be about, well, we'll say 1.5 inches. Because that'll be right about here. Okay, very good. And then I'm going to part it right there. I'm going to mark it with my parting tool, and then I'm going to take my skew and just round it off a little bit, make sure it's balanced. Just a little bit off It still has a little bit of a wobble, but I can go ahead and part it off. I could part this all the way, but I'm just going to use my razor some. So I'm going to lock my head, my headstock. I went ahead and removed my tailstock because it was in the way, and we'll try hollowing it now. to leave that little nub. When I make my boxes, I want the lid to have the recess. That way the bottom part will have a simple lip with no recesses or grooves. So I'm going to cut a tenon down into the cap, and it's going to be a little bit over an 1/8 inch wide and an 1/8 inch deep, and I'm just going to use a straight chisel. Half-inch round nose. It's been altered slightly so that makes it more like a bowl scraper. This side is shaped slightly. So I want to leave this little nub, but I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And I'm just going to make a couple of quick passes on the inside to smooth it out. I'm going to deepen it and make it a little bit more symmetrical. I'm going to take some epoxy and fill this knot here to stabilize it. I'm going to mix a couple of drops of epoxy, 5-minute epoxy. And I'm going to fill these little gaps here. Since it is a salt box, it's possible for these to get salt in them. The epoxy has had time to dry now, so I'm going to go ahead and take that off with a 1/2 inch scraper. I'm going to round these off just a little bit. Okay. I'm going to give the inside a quick coat of sanding sealer because it's very porous. As you can see how fast it soaks up the sanding sealer. I should have covered my lathe. The bed of my lathe, you know. You can see how quick it turns dull because it soaks it up right away. The one thing that sanding sealer is very good for is this is all end grain, and so it will seal up that end grain. That way when I finish it and go to sand it, I'll take another little skim cut with the 1/2 round scraper and then sand it, and it'll save me a lot of work. And we'll let that dry for about 30 minutes. So while the sanding sealer is drying, I'm going to start working on the exterior. I'm going to make it, it's it's going to taper slightly and make a nice smooth curve. I'm using my half-inch spindle gouge. I'm just going to plane off just a little bit of the surface just to smooth it out. That'll save me a lot of sanding. And so in inches, it's about 3/4 of an inch deep. And this, so 3/4 of an inch tells me that it's this deep. And about 1/4 inch above that is where I can start shaping the top. So I'm just going to use an 1/8 inch parting tool and start cutting that. I'm going to let this dry a little bit longer, then I'll sand it out. I'm going to start hollowing the bowl with a 1/2 inch bowl gouge. First thing I need to do is get rid of this little center here. Here we go. I've been trying to get too much So I've been hollowing now for a little while. The reason it's jumping so much is because there's little knots, and there's a big knot here and in the center, and it's rotted wood, so I'm cutting across a very soft area, and the rest of it's very hard, so that's why you hear the thunk 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 as I'm going in. Okay. So the knots are almost gone away. There's still one in the middle. These two are quite small now. It's almost 2.5 inches deep. Almost 2.5 inches deep. And I can easily go another 1/4 inch. Okay. I'm within half an inch of the bottom, so I think I can just widen it a little bit, get the walls smooth, and then we'll start fitting the cap.